I'm going to get things kicked off and just want to thank the community, Bryan College Station, the county, and really all of the major players here, the private sector, the public sector, for what you're doing to help us successfully fight this two-front war against both a public health crisis and now an economic crisis. They always go hand in hand. I want to thank especially the leadership of Bryan and College Station, the public sector, our two mayors pro tem, College Station Mayor Pro Tem Linda Harvell. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this and for your leadership. Mayor Pro Tem Greg Owens, thank you so much. And Kenny Lawson, CEO of CC Creations and several other businesses, thank you for your leadership. Mayor Mooney and I, and again with County Judge Dwayne Peters, we have been in lockstep through this process. I really appreciate the partnership and your leadership, Mayor Mooney. Mayor Mooney and I really thought this idea together. We put together a joint charge, an email that we sent to the Brazos Health District Council representatives for our two respective cities. The mayors pro tem sit on that for really, I think, regrettable but understandable reasons for open meetings. The College Station representative, John Nichols, Dr. Nichols, and then our Bryan representative, Buppy Simek, also agreed to serve. And I want to thank them for the work that they did. But again, for quorum reasons, we had to limit that. But I want to thank them, and they were really gracious about stepping back, but their leadership is very much appreciated as well. So our charge, to summarize this for Operation Restart, the basic charge is we hope we're done with this very soon. We hope that we can get back to business, but we have to be prepared for potentially a long-term return to business without business as usual, looking at the same social distancing concepts in our business processes that we are taking today for essential businesses and just in our interactions with people. So we did ask these three chairs to lead an effort to build a program to do that. That's what they're going to talk about today, and I'm going to step back and let them do their job. But I just want to thank them. Thank you for your leadership. God bless you, and God bless our community. Mayor Mooney.
Thank you, Andrew. And again, my thanks to Andrew and all the folks who are serving, as well as folks in the BVEDC, that's the Brazos Valley Economic Development Corporation, all those volunteers, folks from businesses. I know Mayor Nelson and I, as well as others, have received some very thoughtful plans from a number of groups. In particular, I want to thank Greg Stafford and the group of hoteliers and hospitality folks who really got together and gave us some good guidelines that I read through them, and I was very impressed with the detail that they went into, not just for their customers, but also for their employees. Folks, we know that as we deal with this pandemic, that this is not going to be something where, as we come out of it, that we can simply turn a switch on and say we've got an absolute green light. You've heard about the phases that President Trump came in with. Governor Abbott has been talking about those same phases. We'll hear more from the governor a little bit this afternoon, but we'll also hear a more formal presentation from the governor on Monday, April 27th, in which we'll get some very firm ideas about what can open when and just how much can happen. So to have our business people involved in all of this, be able to go to those experts who know exactly why is their business facing some issue that some other business is not. For example, a restaurant. Why is a restaurant having to deal with spacing and how many seats can be there? What about churches? I met with some pastors yesterday talking about how churches can start to get people back into their sanctuaries, synagogues, and so forth. But what is it that can be done? So we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to start off. Right now we're at phase 0. If you can imagine that. All right, and we'll move into phase 1. And we won't be able to know when we can move to phase 2 or phase 3 until we can see the results of those phases that we're dedicated to at that time in our rear view mirrors. So you're going to have to be patient, right? But the fact is we are trying to get back to a life of normalcy as best we possibly can while still keeping our community safe and preventing an outbreak or a resurgence of the COVID-19 illness. So hang in there with us. We are going to do all we can to make sure that our community comes out of this and is able to look back with some lessons learned, perhaps some new practices that we're going to have to continue to do until our scientists and our geneticists get a firm handle on just what COVID-19 is and what it can do. So with that, again, thank you to everyone on the panel. And Mayor Nelson and I are going to step off to the side so you can hear directly from these fine folks.
Howdy and good morning. My name is Greg Owens. I am the City of Bryan Mayor Pro Tem. I also serve as Chairman of the Brazos County Health District. I was asked by Mayor Nelson to lead Operation Restart as the Tri-Chair. Thank you for joining us today and what you do for our community. For the sake of time and efficiency, let's all please follow these ground rules. Please remain on mute with video disabled until called upon. And if you have a question or comment at any point during today's meeting, then please type your name and industry in that chat function on Zoom. We will call on you in order received during Q&A. Please understand this will not be your only opportunity to provide input and guidance. As you saw from the invite, we need your help with Operation Restart. While the process is fluid and we await an order from Governor Abbott, we've been working on a program to restart our economy. We've enlisted a broad cross-section of Bryan and College Station business leaders to assist us on this task force. Each of you know your stuff. Finally, I would like to recognize my College Station counterpart, Mayor Pro Tem Linda Harvell. Mayor Pro Tem Harvell also serves with me on the Health District. He has been a strong champion of this effort and our small businesses. I'm honored to serve beside her in this role as directed by our mayors. She will now provide a quick overview of mission and unity.
Howdy, y'all. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Owens. I would also like to thank each of you for joining the fight. As a serving member of the Health District, I can assure you they are working diligently with us. The Health District will serve as an information host for the BCS Operation Restart by Mr. Bob Rankin, who is over here in a chair participating in the meeting. And he serves with us on the Task Force Executive Advisory Committee. I would also like to recognize Brazos County Commissioner Nancy Berry, who serves on the Task Force Executive Committee and was appointed by Brazos County Judge Dwayne Peters. The mission of the task force is to assist in quickly executing a pandemic-ready business program tailored to the industry sector best practices. As has already been stated, we will work to align this program with federal and state public health guidelines and phasing. Finally, my overriding message to each of you on the task force is that this is a unified effort of the cities and county with the private sector. The ultimate public-private partnership. Private sector participation and engagement is mission critical to this program. As such, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Kenny Lawson to now say a few words.
Thank you, Pro Tem Harvell. I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys being here. My name is Kenny Lawson. I own CC Creations. It operates in Bryan and College Station. I have several business interests in local restaurants and hotels as well, and I can tell you unequivocally, I feel your pain. We are working with this task force today to get information from our task force members. You're here because you've been identified as a business leader, an industry expert, and we need you to work with this task force to get information back to us on best practices. There are other industry sectors that are being identified. We would like to recognize some of our spokespeople that we have got in touch with already. Some of you may have a message on your machine that you need to check, but we are asking that we have one spokesperson per industry that works with the Executive Advisory Committee to develop those best practices. Once Governor Abbott launches his Phase 1 campaign for the state, we will mirror those best practices along with the guidelines that Governor Abbott announces and try to develop a county-wide best practices which will house on the Brazos Health District's website, brazoshealth.org. I want to thank Bob Rankin for everything that he's done and his group and his team have done to put together the resource. We feel that it's almost complete. Governor Abbott's guidelines will help finish those things. It's going to be a working document. Phase 1 is only the beginning. As our mayors announced, this will be an ongoing challenge for us to continue to update that. And it's only going to be as good as our business professionals and this task force makes it. I ask that you work with speed to get this information back to us. We want to try to have this ready and going when Governor Abbott announces the date that the Phase 1 is enacted. We hope that everybody takes this seriously. We need your help. It is going to be a challenge for us to cover every single business the same way. We understand that it's not a one-size-fits-all type of agenda. We understand that everybody has different needs, but we need to hear from you on what works with the guidelines and what doesn't work with the guidelines. We need that feedback so that we can continue to put our city, all of our cities in our county in the best position that we can to make our citizens feel safe to come in your establishment, as well as the employees and the community feel safe as we enact Phase 1 of this task force. I would also like to say that communication efforts are with the cities. I'm going to challenge our information officers with the cities in the county to get this information out to our citizens. We've launched our logo, Operation Restart. I want to thank Twinsco for developing the logo in a very short period of time. It is going to be our initiative to get this information out through the website at brazoshealth.org, as well as information with our media and information with our city's public information officers. I'm going to challenge our media to make sure that we're highlighting the businesses that are doing best practices, not just focusing on slime and the ice machines, but recognizing the businesses that are doing it the right way. That will help citizens see that we are engaging with them and they're doing everything that we can to make them feel safe, our employees feel safe, and the community to see that happening. Brazos Valley is a very engaging community. We've done a wonderful job at following the orders from Governor Abbott about shelter in place. It wasn't easy. It's not easy still to this day, but we can see the results of that in a positive way. This task force is being engaged. Your leadership, your spokesperson's being engaged so that we can get that information back to the Executive Advisory Committee and that we can work on those best practices and being published with the Health District. Also, we're going to do a question and answer period right after this. We'll engage every question as your business advocate, your community advocate, the private sector. I'll do everything that I can to make your voice heard. We're not going to be able to answer every single challenge, but we'll do our best to get the information out to you, make our cities and our counties use their resources to get that information out to our citizens, and everything that we can do to make this as painless as we can. Joey, do we want to take questions now? Okay, if you have a question, please enter your name and your business so that we can identify you, and that we'll try to answer all of the questions, time permitting, and that we'll try to get some clarity in what Operation Restart is. It is a work in progress, but we have worked and we need your help to make it successful.
Once again, we will call on you in the order received.
I've done such a great job, I know you don't have a lot of questions. I think Greg Stafford's on the line. I wanted to echo Mayor Mooney's thoughts on what the work that they have done. The Brazos Valley Hospitality Association have worked in several meetings to put together some best practices. I've read that document. I think it's an excellent job. I know several of you are on this call, and I just wanted to send some thanks to you guys for taking the lead with that. They have really scoured through what restaurants and hotels need to do to open in a safe manner. And I think I would challenge all the spokesperson to lead their groups in their industries in the same kind of diligence that that group has done. Thank you, Greg. Question?
We have a question from Ramsey, the barber and beauty sector.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, this is Ramsey with the Modern Barber and Beauty Institute and 4.0 Cuts Barber Salons.
Hello, Ramsey.
How you doing? My question is, do y'all have any particular standards that y'all are looking forward, or are you just going to follow what TDLR and the governor mandates?
I think the standards that we're looking for, Ramsey, are the best practices in your particular industry to work with your lead liaison to communicate those best practices. It's not just what the guidelines that Governor Abbott is going to pass down. I think his are going to be a broad set of guidelines. We're looking for additional best practices in our industries so that the Brazos County Health District can put together that in their information out to the citizens of the Brazos County. I think it's challenging you guys to be open-minded, to think through what you would do, or you as a citizen coming into your establishment, and how you would feel safe. Our goal in all this is to build consumer confidence. So if I'm coming in to get my hair cut, how am I going to identify through communication and through some of the strategies that your team and your industry has practiced to make me feel safe, as well as your employees? You know, how are they going to make sure that they feel safe doing their jobs every day? And the community needs to see that. I think that's what's going to build that consumer confidence. I think those are the type of things that I'm challenging this task force to be creative, to be open-minded, to be visionary, and to think not only today, but also what's phase 2 going to look like. If Governor Abbott comes out and says that there's going to be 10 people clusters, phase 2 might be 50 people clusters. So what are those things that you're going to do in your industry to make your community, your citizens, your employees, and your customers feel safe?
Sure. So one thing I have a suggestion on, and I mean, luckily, unfortunately, we have 3 businesses that deal with the schooling aspect, the training. So, you know, in our local community, which is great, maybe have individual barbers and cosmetologists revisit the school for a short training on going over to sanitation. I mean, when we go to state board for our licenses, we are highly trained on sanitation. That's one of the biggest things they look for. Sanitation is key in anything we do. And that's something we follow at our school and at our shops, and a lot of local businesses do the same as well. So it's nothing new for us to have the place sanitized, especially when you're dealing with people's heads and touching people's heads and hair, and you constantly have to wash and sanitize your hands. So for us, it's not anything new. It's not anything that's going to be, you know, labor intensive, but it's something that we've practiced daily. So for us, you know, if it appeases the city and makes it easier for the community to get a better trust and feel for going to the local shops, I say maybe have, you know, all the local community barbers and cosmetologists come to our school and do a small training so they can, you know, revisit the sanitation portion of it. You know, what all we expect to follow, especially like the heightened sense of sanitation, maybe putting the mask, having the little temperature scanners so we can make sure, you know, there's no temperatures coming into the shop, stuff like that. I mean, anything extra that we can do to lead it. I mean, I'm willing to, you know, host it here in increments of so many people at a time. That way they can revisit, you know, what the higher standards are. You know, obviously there's standards in the state, but I mean, if we need to heighten the standards to do a little bit more extra, you know, with having face masks on the barbers and cosmetologists, having gloves on, you know, extra sanitation procedures. I mean, we're all for it.
Ramsey, thank you. I appreciate that. I think those are the type of information that you need to give your group leader. I think all of those things, whether it be through social outlets, through communication outlets, that you can pass on that information for those sanitation standards that you already have in place or that you educate people on. That's the kind of communication that we need. And send those best practices through your liaison, and so that way they can get that back to us, and we can mirror those with Governor Abbott's guidelines. Another question,
Yes, sir.
Joey? Yes, sir.
Walter Qualls.
Walter? Hit me, Walter.
Hopefully you can hear me. I'm with the Bed and Breakfast Association for Brazos Valley. We have near 50 members. Much like the hospitality organizations, we're letting customers or guests into our homes. And the concern is, when is it going to be safe for us to bring them into our homes? And at the same time, we're sharing our homes with other guests. And we've not had guests for over 5 weeks. All of our businesses are hurting just like everyone else's, but we're wanting to get guests back into our B&Bs, but at the same time providing a safe environment for them. Any suggestions?
Well, I think, Walter, that you're going to have to take the same approach that all businesses take, and I appreciate your candid about business hurting. I think everybody can relate to that right now. However, the governor is going to set out some guidelines as early as this Friday, on Monday, effective the first part of May. I think those guidelines are going to give us all a little bit of direction on what he is going to hold us accountable for to run our businesses, hotels, private homes, restaurants, any of the business sectors that we've identified in this task force. I think that what you can do is continue to communicate with your group and give us some best practices. What are you going to do to make those people feel comfortable in your home when they come in? There's going to be social distancing guidelines. There's going to be cluster guidelines. There's going to be sanitation guidelines. I think all that's a given. What we're looking for is a little broader scope in how you're going to make and communicate that safety to your customers, to the people that are in your home. I think those guidelines are going to be identified, and once we have that for your type of business, then I know Bob will help us get that communicated on the website.
Thank you.
We have Monica Brown.
Hi, Monica.
Sorry, I was just unmuted. This is Monica Brown, and I'm a dentist with the non-essential medical. My question was, I think this committee will do a great job coming up with guidelines. We've already been doing it in our practice, but I'm worried about how we're going to get all this, the masks, the hand sanitizer, if you have to have disposable gowns. Do we have any local efforts in place with this task force where local businesses are going to, because we're going to have a run on all this stuff, and most of it's going to essential personnel right now as it is.
Monica, that's a great question. I think that part of the task force can communicate those challenges and make sure that the Executive Advisory Committee is aware of that. I think that that's a very, very hot topic right now of when Governor Abbott puts this shelter-in-place lift and phase 1 comes out, there's going to be, a big rush on a lot of those assets. I think that we'll have to continue to work with our cities and our county on how we can address those issues. I don't have the answer to that. I think that part of our charge is to try to get some answers for that and communicate those to our businesses on outlets that can be responsible for it to help the businesses do that.
Thanks, Kenny.
Next, we have Phil Shackelford.
Bill Shackelford, hit me.
Kenny, how are you?
Doing well, buddy. How are you?
Thank you for your leadership. I just want to take a second and express on behalf of the Bryan College Station Chamber of Commerce, I'm the board chair of the chamber, and I want to thank all the folks that have agreed to serve as spokespeople in all these categories. And just to add, many of you will have questions about what guidelines are appropriate, what next steps are appropriate. And after this meeting, we'll be providing your contact information to your industry spokespeople, and we will also share with you who your industry spokesperson is. This is a really, really crucial time for you guys to get together and work through standard operating procedures and come to some consensus agreements if possible. Where that's not possible, we'd love to hear what everybody's opinion is. So Kenny, maybe walk through how folks can best involve themselves in that process.
Well, thank you, Phil. And I wanted to thank Phil and the Chamber of Commerce, Glenn, all the group that have helped us get the communications out to everybody on the task force, along with Matt at the EDC. There's been many, many hours put into trying to get this started in a very short period of time, I might say. But how we would like to do it is the leads and the liaisons as far as the spokespeople for these industries. I'm going to challenge you guys to take the lead and form those groups to get the information put together and so that we can get that feedback as quick as we can. We want to try to have all this done and formulated and on the website with Bob's group as Governor Abbott announces these guidelines, shortly thereafter, we want to merge those best practices and those thoughts from all of our industry sectors into Governor Abbott's guidelines as one working document. And then we'll continue to brainstorm on ways to communicate those guidelines, not just through signage, but using our cities and our resources through our county to communicate that through our citizens. They need to know what we're doing to make them feel safe. Your employees need to know what they're doing to make them feel safe. Those guidelines will be a roadmap for that, but that's not the only thing that's going to be apparent in these documents.
And Kenny, if I can, let me just follow up on one item. You know, I think the purpose of this committee is multitasked and multi-purposed. As you've heard from our elected leaders and the members of this task force, it's to build public confidence in entities that are open. It's to provide business and industry a voice in crafting guidelines and recommendations. And last, it's to ensure our public and ensure that everyone is safe and healthy in the opening of business so that business can operate to the best of our ability. So again, I want to thank all of you for serving. And if I can be of help to any of you throughout this process, please don't hesitate to let me know.
Thank you, Phil.
Next is Scott Logan.
With the opening of Colleyville, is that kind of the guidelines we're going to be expecting, I guess, statewide here? And are we monitoring that and seeing how that's going to play out?
Scott, do me a favor, buddy. Can you repeat the first part of your question? You kind of came in halfway on us clear.
Okay, sorry about that. So Colleyville opened up, was it yesterday? I think they opened up a lot of their shops. And is that something we can expect with some of the things that they did and strategies as far as implementing their own social distancing? And is that going to be what we can expect here locally and maybe statewide?
Are we watching that?
I think that Governor Abbott is watching all areas of Texas. I can't speak for him on what the guidelines are going to be. I know that our local officials, our mayors, and our Brazos County leadership is watching all those things, and I think that we're doing a good job of social distancing and the things that go into that. I don't know what the guidelines are going to be. I'm going to say that there's not going to be any miracles or not going to be any kind of oh wow moments. I think that they're going to be very similar, maybe with a few tweaks.
Okay.
I will say that the industry sectors that we have represented on this task force, it's a very broad group of industries. There's not a one-size-fits-all agenda. I think Governor Abbott's guidelines are going to give us a roadmap, and then all of the feedback that we get from the industry experts are going to help us add to that to provide just a great resource to communicate to our citizens on how they can be safe coming into our establishments.
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we have Randy Scott.
Howdy, Randy.
As everybody has noticed in Harris County, they've mandated that everybody going outside needs to wear a mask. I was wondering whether Brazos County anticipates in a similar order. And if so, what should be our reaction as a retailer to people that try to come into the store that aren't wearing masks?
I think our city leadership is looking into that agenda. I don't know what Governor Abbott's mandates are going to be when he announces his guidelines, if masks are going to be required in the public. Obviously, masks are required now if you can't social distance. So I think he's evaluating that. I know our city leadership, our mayors and our county leadership is evaluating that. And when they announce the guidelines, I think that we'll have a little clarity on that.
Well, this preliminary guidelines reveal that all retail employees should wear masks. And currently, we're making that a voluntary decision of the employee, but we're desperately practicing the safe distancing rules. So it's been a big concern in Houston, whereas should we screen customers coming into the store with infrared thermometers? Should we let them in if they don't have masks? And we definitely, limit the number that are in the store due to some corporate guidelines.
Yes, sir. I think guidelines are going to be critical, and I think industries are going to have a little bit of variety in how they run their businesses. There's already things going on, obviously, when people have masks on, shooting temperatures when employees come in the in the door, having them wash their hands when they come in the door. There's a lot of guidelines that are out there that people are doing as we speak. And I think that as we get further guidelines from Governor Abbott, our city leadership will take those. This task force will take the information that we get back from y'all and put together some resources that you can use to run your business.
Thank you.
Next, we have John Clark.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay. The health concerns are preeminent, making sure that the public has confidence to go into all of your businesses. I think also, and this may go more directly to Phil Shackelford, his group, we need to have a bulleted group of creative ideas on how to unleash immediately savings and get that money back into the economy. Just little creative ideas. Like my wife said this morning, and I gave her permission to go out and get $500 worth of gift certificates to local businesses. That way, as she's giving things to people and I'm giving things to clients, it's just local. It's not going to Amazon or whatever. So little ideas like that, 1,000 ideas. But if you're going to, none of our tax laws have changed. So if you had incentive to add to to buy a new pickup or add to your business inventory, have the strength to do that. Back to all we have to fear is fear itself. And we need ways to immediately jumpstart the economy. And I think there's little ideas that we can all come up with cumulatively in our different industries to help do that. And we need a forum for that. In addition to all the obvious safety things, we need a forum to allow good ideas to get out there to everybody.
We're right here.
On an economic jumpstart.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, John. I think part of this initiative in this task force should be, we can only control our attitudes right now, and everybody has to understand that our goal is to jumpstart, to restart our businesses, and we can do that by helping each other, obviously, in the local community. I think that's a great idea. Giving your wife permission to do anything in your household, that's pretty strong. But there's a lot of things that all the citizens can do. Shop local, help the local businesses. That's one of the charges that I'm going to be very engaged with the media in, is to have that principle out there that the citizens need to help businesses out. We need them right now.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go back to Laurie Knudsen.
Laurie, are you with us?
Mayor, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Good. So we have been working on our own back to work rules and regs that we're gonna live by. Is that something that you would like us as individual companies that we're sharing that information with you and give an opportunity to get that narrowed down and put together?
Absolutely. That is, your spokesperson for your industry is going to want all of that information. And through the group, when y'all have your conversations, to dialogue and debate what you feel those best practices are. And the goal of our spokesperson is to bring that list of best practices back to the Executive Advisory Committee, and for us to take those, mirror them with Governor Abbott's guidelines, and for Bob and his team to produce a document that has all of those out there so that all businesses within our county can see what they are and they can use them to run their business the most effective way. So yes, anything that you have that your current industry groups are doing, we would love that information.
And so you've referenced industry-specific leadership. Have you identified who those are by industry yet?
Yes, Phil Shackelford from the Chamber of Commerce has contacted all of those industry leaders I don't know if he's got confirmation from every one of them yet. We just started this process literally 24 hours ago, but that is our goal, to identify who those people are. We've already identified. It's just communicating with them, having them confirm that they can do that, and then they will reach out. Their goal is to reach out to their peers to form that group to get information back to our Executive Advisory Committee. if Phil's on the line, we'll try to also put out some information out to make sure that everybody on this task force knows who your liaison is, and that there's no questions about who to communicate, and then challenge them to get the meeting set so that we can get that information back to us as soon as possible.
Next, we have Rebecca Bonig.
Unmute now.
You better have Julia show you how to use that.
I know, this is challenging. Some of y'all look like Zoom experts. Hey, thank you for asking me to help out, Kenny. I think one thing I would love to add to the discussion, the community has done so well on being socially responsible as we've addressed this. And now we've got this thing going, this task deal. It's a Herculean task that you agreed to take on. I would love to add just urgency to it. I think what the announcement's going to be from our governor is going to be exciting and going to give us a lot of opportunities that happen pretty quick based on where our community is in this dance. And so I would love to add urgency. Being part of the retail community, I'd love to find out who else is on that community as soon as possible. And as when you approach things like industry best practices, that can take a long time. Versus, I think the way you're trying to word it is let's move quickly, and we can always improve as we go along. But I would love for us to all have the same commitment to open as soon as we can for our local businesses, and improve our ways that we accommodate this issue as we move forward. Because I do think, as most do, it's going to be with us for a while. So I appreciate your leadership, and let us know how we can help in a quick way.
Thank you, Dave. I echo your comments on the speed. If Governor Abbott makes some announcements tied to guidelines effective the first part of May, he'll make those announcements on Monday, and he will give us some feedback on what those guidelines are going to be, and I'm going to guess give us an effective date. May 4th maybe is what I'm hearing. So we will have not only this time until those announcements are made Monday, then we'll have next week to get those formulated. But I am challenging all of our spokespeople for each industry to get these meetings set, to get the feedback done. It's not just going to be one meeting, it's going to be multiple meetings. There's going to be a lot of feedback. We need those announcements, and we need that information back as soon as we can.
Totally agree, and thank you. We're ready to serve.
Thank you, Dave.
Next is Paul Bonarigo.
Hey, Paul.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, I'm not going to repeat the same thing everybody else said. I do appreciate everybody's hard work on this, and obviously we're going to lean into any solutions that we can do to get the business back on track. We're hurting just like everybody else. But one thing I did want to throw out there real quick is I'm not on the Zoom, so I can't see, but do we have representation from Texas A&M on the task force from the perspective, not necessarily from the education side, but from, like, when we talk about whatever plan that comes out, resources that are necessary. I mean, you want to talk about a major giant that can help to get the community, coordination and potentially even some resource buying power. Obviously, they have a lot of great connections. So are they part of that?
I have to say, at this point, the focus has just been on the two cities, the county and the private sector. So I think that's a great idea that we will definitely look into how we can take that resource and add it to our bucket of resources.
Rose Selman.
Rose?
Howdy. It's good to see everyone. Hope everyone's well. I represent the building industry. We've been communicating best practices with construction being considered essential business in all the trades. We've been communicating best practices since March the 20th, and I just wanted to know where I send that information.
I think, Rose, that you will be contacted by your industry liaison, and in a very short period of time, hopefully even as early as today, in that information, and appreciate you getting a head start on this. That's what we need, some industry leaders. And one of the reasons that you're on this task force is because I think you've been identified as being one that's taken some initiative with that. But your liaison will have a formulating task to get that information to us. And so be ready to send it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Rebecca?
Okay, can you hear me this time?
We can hear you, Rebecca.
Okay, so just a few things. So we're an essential business because we're in manufacturing and we supply hospitals and labs and things like that. So we started wearing masks at our company, I guess that was like 40 days ago. We have since entered into an agreement that we are now distributing masks, but in massive quantities, like the minimum order is 1 million masks. But if we can get together as this group together, 1 million masks will not go that far. When you think about how many you're going to need for every employee and things like that. So if any of you are interested in us trying to put together a joint purchase order to buy 1 million masks for our community, if you could just get back with me, we'll figure out a way to make that happen.
Thank you, Rebecca. I think, again, passing that information on to your industry liaison, letting them know that's a good initiative, and letting this task force know that that is a possibility. I think that's the kind of forward thinking that we need at this time. I will say, as we wrap up questions here, that this task force, you're our industry experts. We want to try to move with speed, with efficiency, with forward thinking, and not just for phase 1. Start thinking about phase 2 and phase 3, as Governor Abbott's agenda will be geared towards those in a 15-day increment. So please make sure that we are putting all of our resources together. We need you right now. Our citizens need you. I want to thank you for being a part of this task force. It always amazes me the amount of energy that we have in doing this. It was a call and it was answered by 185 people. And I really appreciate that from the executive advisory standpoint. I know our mayors, our city leadership, and our county leadership. Mayor Pro Tem Harvell, Mayor Pro Tem Owens, we appreciate you. And I think that this task force is going to be highly successful. I look forward to continuing the communication with our private sector. You have my full attention, so don't hesitate to reach out and let us know if there's anything that we can do. Be safe. God bless. Sure.
So this is a lighthearted comment directed at the industry leaders, and to borrow a reliable phrase from Mayor Nelson, we are all counting on you, so don't let us down. Thank you.